Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters, viewers at home, welcome to another episode of Ask Eman, the show that gives you the opportunity to ask your burning questions, inshallah, and listen to the advice by our competent local Shaykh and Imams that are going to help you in this journey, inshallah ta'ala, of Islamic knowledge and your quest on this journey to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. MashaAllah, today we are welcomed by Shaykh Wasim Kempson. Alhamdulillah, he's with us today. Brothers and sisters, please do call in. We have a new time of 8 p.m. until 9 p.m. inshallah ta'ala. So please do tune in. Call all your friends and family as well to join us inshallah on this show. If you do want to send in your questions via our WhatsApp, you can do so by calling 0742 239 8833, or alternatively, you can actually call into our studio tonight, inshallah. We can speak to you and get through direct on our line on 0203 515 0769. Remember, brothers and sisters, please do call in, inshallah, because two people, in fact, will never learn. The first one is the one who is too arrogant, and the second person is the one who is too shy to ask, inshallah. So, assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum salam. I'm very well. Jazakallah khairan.
Inshallah. Inshallah, we're going to have some callers coming through, inshallah. So could you just give us a little reminder, Bismillah, Shaykh?
Inshallah. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All praise belongs to Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and the viewers at home. So just prior to the show, actually, I was sitting with a very beloved brother of mine, and we were talking about the vast experience he has in programming and in television and production. And he gave me a few golden nuggets of benefits, mashallah, with regards to what he has faced, with regards to his work, and what has allowed him to be, bifadlillah, very successful. And what I took from him is that always that the cause of a da'wah, or the call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is always the most important thing. And that if you want to say things like the business side of things or the worldly side of things, always follows that.
Yeah.
And because he places the maslahah or the benefit of what he sees is for the audience or for the people for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that he finds himself always in a good way, always in a positive situation. And I think this is a very good lesson for us, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells that whoever puts his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will suffice that person. So don't necessarily look at how you're going to bring the dunya together to make something successful, but look firstly and foremost to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seek His reward alone, and then you take the steps after that, and you'll find nothing but success. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Alhamdulillah, subhanallah, Shaykh. Always, mashallah, we do have a lot of callers calling through, obviously, on a weekly basis on this show. And we always hear about the virtues of people asking questions. But can you just shed a bit of light on the person, the mufti or the imam or the scholar, the virtue of him teaching this knowledge and propagating Islam and holding this heavy command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
No. So we find from the beginning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the status of those who are endeared with wahi, with revelation knowledge, i.e. from the Quran and the Sunnah. Of course, scholars don't receive revelation, but they study the revelation, they study the Quran and the Sunnah, and the responsibility of carrying that to others. Yeah. The Prophet ﷺ said in the sound hadith that the prophets and messengers do not have anything to inherit, but rather what is to be inherited is knowledge. And that the ulama are warathatul anbiya, and that the scholars, they are the inheritors of the prophets in that the knowledge that they have taken. It is something, alhamdulillah, has continued through the generations and through the times, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using these individuals to preserve the religion. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, upon that note, we do have our first caller, so we're going to take that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. What is your name and where are you calling from tonight?
My name is Siraj. I'm calling from Huddersfield.
MashaAllah, brother Siraj. Bismillah, you can pose your question, akhi.
Right. So I work in a taxi office. So I control the taxis and book them when people call them. And sometimes people go to the church and they go to the pub. And I'm just asking, like, what's the ruling on me working in like this job?
Sorry, did you say what is the ruling on working? Can you just repeat the last part, please?
Working in this type of job.
There's just a technical difficulty, inshallah. Oh, in the taxi rank. Did you say working as a controller in a taxi rank? Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Shaykh. So obviously he's asking about working in a taxi rank as a controller and people going to certain places, destinations.
Sure. Okay. So I think the question is, albeit some is quite specific, we can broaden it in that we can, is a person permitted to work as a taxi driver or is involved in a taxi rank and so on and so forth. The job itself is halal. No doubt it is permissible to work and provide such a service for people. And the vast majority of your work is absolutely no problem in that, inshallah ta'ala. There are certain things which you're not responsible for, okay? So therefore this is something that is beyond your control. And in essence, for you to work in this job is permissible for you. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair, Shaykh. Because I'm sure that even some people are asked even further in terms of specifically if there is it's a part of a person's job driving to certain destinations and the customer, the client, wishes to go to certain places or destinations.
Yeah.
What would be just a general advice for these certain taxi drivers and maybe ways to navigate through that?
Which I think underlines in all of our situations is to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. Now there are different times that a person can work, and if you feel that you can get by, let's say for example working in the daytime, which will limit the amount of types of journey that you may have. This is one thing that maybe you can do as opposed to working at night time, where the type of destination will be very different. Also, if you have the choice over the jobs that you're about to take, and if you can guesstimate how much or where you think that may be going, and that you'd rather not take that, maybe this is another option you can take into consideration. There are other circumstances where you don't have that choice.
Yeah.
And because we said the asl, or the origin of the work is for you is permissible. In a situation where you don't have the choice over it, that's overlooked. But where you have the opportunity to remove yourself from that situation, then you should do that.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So brothers and sisters, just a reminder, inshallah, obviously you can call in. We are live on Facebook and other types of social media tonight, inshallah. Do call in the studio 0203 515 0769, inshallah. And you can also WhatsApp us on 0742 239 8888. Shaykh, just I know myself, I've got some burning questions. Just to expand on the questioner, his question earlier. I just wanted to even go a step further, even talking about people getting involved in certain types of competitions. For example, they compete. For example, if you could say it's a football competition, a football tournament. And each team member, they put a certain amount of money forth, whether it's £5 or £10, in the hopes of winning more back. Is this considered a type of gambling if it is based on someone's performance, if it's based on someone's own effort in a competition such as that?
So if you've described it as you have done so, that you're going to pay £10 to enter because I want to earn more money, then clearly that's not permissible for you to do as a form of gambling. However, if there are competition which there is an entry fee and there are costs to the running of the entire competition and whatnot, then you paying an entry fee is fine, but not on the basis that you're going to win money back. That's clear-cut gambling. So, an organisation or competition being set up, and there's an entry fee for a team, like £50 for the team. Each person pays whatever they're going to pay, like £5 or £10, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Then that's fine, inshallah ta'ala. If there's a prize at the end, if it's a monetary prize, then maybe don't mention the monetary prize so that it doesn't seem as an incentive for those who are paying the money that we'll get this money and then we'll get that much money and things like that. No.
Alhamdulillah, we do have a question come forth. It is on the similar topic of what is to consider as gambling, and the question has asked, can I play card games if it does not involve any types or forms of gambling? So I'm guessing maybe blackjack or something.
Yeah, sure. So the playing of cards is something that the ulama have spoken about. The end speech really, in essence, is something that is disliked to do. And that is because of potentially what it can lead to. And you have to bear in mind that a person may feel safe themselves, that I'm not going to get involved in the gambling itself. That there may be between people, we want to start making the game a little bit more interesting. Let's put matchsticks there.
Yeah.
You know, or some form of modern day, I don't know what you want to put there, some little, whatever it may be, and then those things turn into very small amounts of money, and so things can quite quickly spiral out of control. So anything that may lead to something which is haram really should be avoided, and Allah knows best.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair. We do have another question, Shaykh, come forth. It's a slightly different direction, this question. The question is asking, are anniversaries halal? They didn't specify the type of anniversary, but in general, are they permissible to celebrate?
Yeah, so anniversaries come in different forms, whether it's a wedding anniversary or the anniversary of somebody passing away. It's a very broad question. But something that is celebrated or remembered particularly at each year as it passes, and it kind of can form into a celebration. This is something we should stay away from, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Brothers and sisters, please, we do urge you, do call in, inshallah ta'ala. This is an opportunity via Eman channel. We are here for the next 2-3 days this week, inshallah ta'ala. So please do call in on the studio number on 0203 515 0769, or you can alternatively WhatsApp us, inshallah, on 0742 239 8833. We'll come back to you after the break, inshallah ta'ala. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to Ask Eman. Inshallah, tonight we are answering questions that people are calling in on our number 07422398833. Remember, brothers and sisters, that people used to travel far and wide across countries, across continents to seek knowledge, to ask scholars, imams, people of knowledge. Alhamdulillah, we have it easier today in our day, basically in this era, to ask people who are competent, mashallah, qualified, their questions, and alhamdulillah able to get a swift response by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Upon that, we are here with Shaykh Wasim Kempson, and we do have a caller waiting on the line, so we're going to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Maimuna Mohammed. I'm calling from London.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, sister, and what is your question today?
My question is, if when women, when we have like a smear test, do we need to do ghusl after that?
Okay, understood, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are times when there are certain medical procedures which may come to one's mind, that do I need to perform ghusl? From that is, if a sister has a smear test, there is no need for you to perform ghusl after this particular procedure. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Jazakallah khair. I think we have another caller as well on the line. Assalamu alaikum. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Hikmah. I'm calling from London.
MashaAllah, Sister Hikmah. How can we help? What is your question tonight?
Thank you so much. So my first question is, in the delivery room when giving birth, is it permissible to play Quran while giving birth? Because obviously, like, it's soothing and it's just like blessed and things like that, and you'd want to concentrate on the Quran and stuff, but there are people talking around you and stuff. So is that permissible? And I've got two more questions kind of around that thing. Can I ask those as well, please?
Yeah, go ahead, inshallah.
Thank you. And so the second question is, when the baby is born, inshallah, in terms of doing the adhan, so I've heard different things. So is it just the adhan in one ear, in the right ear, or is it adhan in the right ear, iqamah in the left ear, or is it adhan in both ears? And then the third and final question is shaving the baby's head, inshallah. Like, can we use clippers, or does it have to be a proper kind of blade that has to be used in like a clean shave?
Yep, understood, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you for your contribution tonight, inshallah. We will answer those swiftly. So, Shaykh, obviously there was a three-part question. The first being, is it permissible to play the Quran in the delivery room?
Okay, so a couple of issues here is that, first and foremost, when the Quran is played or it is listened to, the idea is to concentrate on its recitation and to ponder over its meanings if we understand the Quran. Now, we should understand that when we do listen to the Quran, we need to understand that there are certain benefits which are acceptable and there are certain benefits which are imagined, in that what is no proof for. So, for example, at the time of when giving birth, for example, that playing the Quran, let's say, it's going to keep the shayateen away, okay? Or, for example, that some form of blessing is going to fall upon us while the Quran is played. Or play the Quran, then your baby will be delivered very easy.
Yeah.
There's no evidence to say this. And from what is said, that at the time when the sister or the woman is giving birth, that she isn't listening to very much at the time of birth, because it's a very emotional and a very difficult time when giving birth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, sister, or whoever's going to have or give birth whenever they give birth, soon or later. So if a person maybe is maybe raising their voice, for example, when the Quran is being played, then it would be preferable to maybe turn the Quran off, so people are, and you have to listen to instructions from the nurses as well, when they say to breathe, when to push and things like that. And if you're concentrating on something else, you may not be able to listen to the instructions of the nurses as well. Okay, so this being the case, I would say that that before and after, then no problem. But during actual birth, you probably need to concentrate on what is being said to you with regards to the nurses and Allah's best.
I don't know if any hospital delivery rooms allow Quran being recited.
Yeah, you've got your phones and devices and things like that, but
Subhanallah.
it's important to be able to listen and concentrate to the nurses.
MashaAllah. The second question, Shaykh, was in regards to the adhan or the iqama. I believe it was the adhan. Should it be recited in one ear or two? And what is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ?
So with regards to the saying the adhan, there are certain narrations which mention the iqama. However, all of them are da'if, quite weak actually. So there is no saying the iqama in the left ear or any ear. As for the adhan, many of them are also weak, but however, many of the ulama have said it is permitted for you to say the adhan in the right ear of the child. No need to say it twice, just once. So that inshallah the first thing that they hear is the kalima of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So la haraj to say the adhan in the right ear of the newborn, and that is sufficient inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah. And on the topic of the newborn as well, the third part of the question was in regards to a baby, is it preferred or is it better for the hair to be cut or shaved off?
Yeah. So the issue of shaving the head, first and foremost, whether it's a boy or a girl, there's a difference amongst the scholars. However, Allah knows best that there's no difference between the boy and the girl, that if possible you can shave their heads, and then the weight of that hair is to be given away in as a sadaqah in what would be equivalent to silver. It's not very much at all if you can weigh it. If you cannot use, because you see that a blade and things like, you see a small baby, you think, how am I supposed to use that? If you were to use some form of machine, then la ba'as, it would be acceptable, but it's better to shave, and if you do it properly, there should be no danger to the baby, inshallah ta'ala.
Is there an amount of time that should be done after? Is there a required or specific amount of time that the hair should be cut off, or is it just?
Yeah, I mean, it is mentioned within what was the Prophet mentioned with regards to Al-Hasan al-Husayn radiyallahu anhuma in the naming, and also on the 7th day, or the aqiqah as well. But if it is done prior to that or after that, then la ba'as, la haraj is okay, but to do maybe 7th or 14th is good to do, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, we do have another caller on the line. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm calling from London, and I've got 3 questions for the Shaykh.
Yes, inshallah, sister. Bismillah.
Bismillah. The first question is to do with sajda sahwa.
Okay.
So my issue is when I'm praying, sometimes I forget which rak'ah I'm doing, and sometimes I forget the two sajdas when I do in the prayer.
Okay.
So I want to find out how to rectify that with sajda sahwa. Second question is to do with the morning and evening adhkar. So the thing is, I wanted to find out the significance of the times, because I'm aware that you have to do it between, like, for example, the evening one, you have to do it between Maghrib and, from Asr and Maghrib. But sometimes I'm at work and I can't do that. So what can I do in that situation?
Yep, inshallah.
The third question is that when I'm going to the masjid and I'm praying behind the imam, do I have to say Alhamdu in the second surah? Because sometimes he says the surah and I don't know it. What shall I do? Shall I just say a silent surah or just stay silent?
Inshallah, yes, we have your questions, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair for calling, inshallah. And do tune in for the response or the answer, inshallah. So the Shaykh, the question, the sajda sahwa, the sujood of forgetfulness.
So the prostrations of forgetfulness is something which is widely found in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that on an occasion where a person forgets to do something or adds something to their prayer, it is then legislated for that person to perform 2 prostrations of forgetfulness at the end of the prayer. Now the reasons behind why a person will do that will differ. So if a person misses out one of the obligations, one of the wajibats of the prayer, then the 2 prostrations can make up for that. If the sister she mentioned she didn't make 2 prostrations.
Yeah.
This is an essential part of the prayer. This is one of the pillars of the prayer. And performing 2 prostrations of forgetfulness would not suffice you, missing out pillars of the prayer. So if you moved into the next rak'ah and you realized that you didn't perform those 2 prostrations, rather you only performed 1, then that particular rak'ah would be invalid. So you would cancel it out as though you didn't do it.
Right.
So the next rak'ah that you are in, you consider if it's the second one or it's the third one. Okay, depending on where the one prayer you don't include that, and then you continue from there. So you'd have to make up the rak'ah, and then you also perform 2 prostrations of forgetfulness at the end.
Okay, mashallah. The second question, Shaykh, was the times or the specific recommended times of the adhkar, the remembrance of Allah,
Yeah.
of the morning and the between Asr
Right.
and Maghrib as well.
Okay. So this is a very common question with regards to the timings of the adhkar in the morning and the evening. Now, making the adhkar in the morning and the evening is not like you offering your salah at specific times, okay? Obviously, you have to pray Asr between Asr and Maghrib. The fact that you may not be able to offer your adhkar at that time, only after Maghrib because you're busy, you can still make the adhkar. Okay, it's not as though you missed a prayer time, so the adhkar time is gone. Okay, these are times which are most preferred for you to do after Fajr and after Asr. If you wake up, let's say for example, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, I didn't make my adhkar after Fajr, la haraj, you can still make the adhkar inshallah ta'ala. Similarly, I forgot to make my adhkar after Asr, la haraj, you can do it after Salat al-Maghrib inshallah ta'ala. So it's not equivalent to the prayer times.
Inshallah, Jazakumullah khair. We will come back and answer the third question after the break, inshallah. Please do call in, alhamdulillah. We'd love to hear from you and your questions, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to Ask Eman. Alhamdulillah. We did have a three-part question before the break, inshallah. So we're just going to go back and expand on one of the questions, Shaykh. The question in regards to sujood al-sahu, the prostration of forgetfulness. Is that to be done before the taslim or after the taslim?
Yeah.
Salah.
Okay. So I would recommend brothers and sisters to maybe find a teacher to go through this particular chapter. It's a very important chapter, which will explain all the rulings concerning prostration of forgetfulness, because there's so many different scenarios. One of the issues is whether you perform the two prostrations before or after taslim. To simplify the issue, is that if you remember within your salah that you have missed out something, then you perform the two prostrations before taslim. Okay, so if you remember that there's a deficiency in the prayer before you end, you make the two prostrations before you make taslim. Obviously after, if you finish the prayer and you remember there's a mistake in your prayer, you're going to have to do it afterwards. Right. If you remember it like this, inshallah, it'll simplify the matter for you with Allah.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair. The question, inshallah, Shaykh, is regarding the sister saying that she prays behind an imam in the congregational prayers, but she does not know any other surahs except for the Fatiha. Is that prayer sufficient for her?
Okay, so if you pray behind the imam and it's a loud prayer, the imam, he will recite Surah Al-Fatiha. There's a difference of opinion whether the recitation of the imam is sufficient for everybody. I'm of the view that everybody should recite Surah Al-Fatiha, inshallah ta'ala, although it's a valid difference of opinion. Now, after that, in the first two rak'at, the imam will then recite another chapter. Those who are following are not then to recite anything, but rather just to listen to the imam. So even though you don't know that chapter that what the imam is reciting, you are to remain quiet and listen to what the imam is saying in the salah. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakumullah khair. Inshallah, do call in, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, we have the opportunity now to ask, inshallah, and have your questions answered on the line. You can call 0203-515-0769. Alternatively, you can send us a WhatsApp, inshallah, a message on 0742-239-8833. Inshallah, we do have some questions coming through via the WhatsApp, Shaykh. It is a sort of a spiritual question, this one. It's a how does a person deal with feelings such as anxiety?
So there are answering this is two-pronged. There is if it's quite severe, then there is no problem, and as Muslims taking a professional help, professional guidance, and seeking help through that. Whether that means you go through your GP and take the matter further. There is also a way of dealing with it with regards to Islamic guidance. There may be certain things which may be pushing that person or allowing that person to feel anxious. It could be financial worries. It could be family worries. It could be so many issues. So I would recommend, studying and reading things about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests His servants. And that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests His servants, that it is a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for them. And we shouldn't lose hope. And we shouldn't think about, I have committed so many sins, therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to punish me, and so on. This is losing hope, and we are forbidden from doing that.
Absolutely.
We all have sins, but us seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness frequently, inshallah ta'ala, is a way of removing those sins on a constant basis. And we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "At-ta'ibu kaman la dhanba lahu," that the repentant one is like the person who has no sin. So if you are constantly repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have hope in Allah Jalla wa ala that He removes your sins bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. That doesn't mean that you won't ever get punished or tested and things like that, but ultimately your reaction should always be the same, and that is to turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek His help. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair. We do have a caller on the line. I believe we have Brother Atif on the line. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, sir, you can go ahead with your question, inshallah.
The question is it permissible for someone to dye their hair brown if their natural hair color is brown? And the second question was, what's the ruling on cutting the hair in between the eyebrows for men?
Okay, inshallah. Is that all you have?
That's it, brother.
Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. Shaykh, dyeing the hair brown if their natural hair color is brown, I believe.
Yeah, so I would assume that you're going to make it a darker brown or a lighter brown. Otherwise, if they're saying Qala mal fa'ida, what's the benefit? But no problem. If you want to dye your hair a lighter or a darker brown, it's not henna, for example. It is one of those, let's say, products that you can buy in the market and things like that. No problem, inshallah ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah. And the second part of this question was, I believe, trimming or plucking the eyebrows for men in between the eyebrows.
So the ruling is for both men and women, the plucking of the eyebrows and shaping of the eyebrows. So it's something we should avoid, wallahu. Unless they're, in the middle, which isn't strictly part of the eyebrow. So if there is maybe a hair that they wanted to remove between, that is okay, but you have to be very careful. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. If there's no need to do that, then leave it. Allahu a'lam.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair. We have the questions coming in thick and fast, brothers and sisters, so please do send your messages through into to our WhatsApp. Shaykh, we have a question in regards to, is there truth, this question is asking, is there truth that there are makruh times to pray? For example, the Salat al-Istikhara, Salat al-Shukr, and times like this.
Okay. So the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam nahana, prohibited us from praying at certain times. And in general, those three particular times are after one has prayed Salatul Fajr until the sun has risen qaydu ramh, risen the distance of a spear above the horizon, which is about, let's say, 10 minutes after sunrise. The second time is when the sun is at its absolute zenith, at its very top, just before Salatul Dhuhr. And the second, or the third time rather, is after one has prayed Salat al-Asr until the sun has set. Now, the vast majority of the ulama are of the view that no prayers should be offered at these particular times. There is a minority view, and that is the view of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, that one is allowed to offer after, for example, after Salat al-Asr, if that prayer is something called Dhatul Sabab, if there is a reason behind it, meaning that general prayers you should not offer, like Nafilah, but a specific prayer like Tahiyatul Masjid has a reason behind it. Or, for example, another salah that has a reason behind it, that is permissible. It is a very well-known difference of opinion amongst the scholars. One really could look at both evidences, come to a situation where they don't know what to do. So therefore, you go to maybe the views of your scholars and your madhab and things like that. That would be sufficient. And the view of the Jamhur, the majority of the scholars, that one does not offer any salah, regardless if it's a reason or not, at these particular times. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. A question is asking, can I shorten my prayer if I am in a rush, in a hurry?
Naam. So if you mean shorten your prayer, i.e. that suffice yourself, let's say you're going to recite, pray Salatul Dhuhr, that you're only going to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and no other chapter after that, then that is permissible. But Salatul Dhuhr as a resident has to be 4 rak'at. You can't say, I'm in a rush, I'm going to offer just 2 or 3 now, or even offer 1. That would be an invalid salah. So the salah in terms of rak'at and all the essential parts of the prayer have to be completed. But if you missed out some of the sunan elements of the prayer, like I mentioned, reciting a chapter after Al-Fatiha, then the salah would be valid. And remember, when you're praying, that you have to have some form of tranquility, tama'nina, that you're not rushing through the movements, so much so that maybe it would lead to your prayer being invalid. Wallahu ta'ala.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jazakallah khair, brothers and sisters. Please do call in, and also you can send message via WhatsApp. Alhamdulillah, the line is at the bottom of the screen, inshallah. So do participate and join in together in this quest of thirst for seeking the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do have another question. I believe it's going back to the newborn, back to the births. Shaykh, they're asking the specific time to do the aqiqah. I know you mentioned it earlier on, but I think the caller did miss it. What is the specific time frame to do the aqiqah when the baby is born?
Yeah, so the aqiqah is to be offered on the 7th or the 14th or the 21st day after birth. If it's not done any of those dates, then it can be done at any other time after the 21st day. And remembering that 2 sheep to be slaughtered for a boy and 1 for a girl. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Alhamdulillah. Another question has come through, Shaykh. Should I recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim with the next surah after Al-Fatiha during the prayer? So I'm guessing Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim with the surah.
No. So if you're in your own prayer, you're leading you're praying alone or something like that, then the chapters are separated with the basmalah. albeit not part of the actual surah. Fatiha has its own issue.
Yeah.
But yet it is good for you to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim between each chapter. Wallahu alam.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair, Shaykh. We do, obviously, we know around the corner there's an event called Valentine's Day on the 14th of February. What is that about? What is the specific ruling on celebrating this day?
Naam. طيب, so as Muslims we have to be very careful and wary about the origins of different celebrations. Now the origins of Valentine's Day are pagan. They have polytheist origins. Therefore it's not permitted for a Muslim to participate in such celebrations, even though it may be an opportunity for you to give something to your wife or to your husband on this particular day. And if you're specifying this day for your spouse, then you are a miskeen person, because you're falling short in, for the rest of the year, not doing something for your spouse. So these celebrations have to be avoided. It is not permitted for us to involve in such things. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy and accept from us all. Ameen.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah. I'm sure we have more questions pertaining to this particular issue, which we will answer after the break. Please do tune in, inshallah, and we will listen to all your calls. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back, inshallah, to the final segment of the show, inshallah. Please do seize this opportunity to do call in and ask your questions. Alhamdulillah, we have the studio number that you can call in, and alternatively, you can send a message to our WhatsApp group and send your messages there anonymously, alhamdulillah. Remember, this is an advice, what was being given in the Quran as well. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That ask those of knowledge or those people that know. If you do not know, alhamdulillah, we've had this opportunity to make things easy for ourselves and have this facilitation being put forth for us. Shaykh, just to quickly expand on the question we had before the break in regards to Valentine's Day, because I think we need to do a bit more justice to this.
Sure.
If the counter argument is that, well, it does bring love between the spouses, and you know, some spouses feel that, or some brides feel that it's slightly romantic for my husband to do something for me, and they feel getting closer to their spouse. Is there harm in still doing certain gestures on Valentine's Day?
Yeah. So we have to be very careful not to fall into manufactured love, okay, a false love, that you're told to show love and to show, or you're told to be romantic to your spouse on a particular day. Whereas Muslims, subhanAllah, we should be romantic and show love towards our spouses, not when we are told to do so, and certainly not a pagan festival. So therefore, there are many reasons, and it is okay to counter with other thoughts or ideas and things like that, because we're living in a time where a person may not know anything about like this, and all their lives they've been celebrating or involved in Valentine's Day only to hear that it is haram. Haram? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Something very innocent. So it is important we speak about the issues where it came from, and as a Muslim, that the alternatives that we have, meaning that we don't just say, what are we are the haram police. This is haram, you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to understand that Islam only came to free us from false ideologies and manufactured things really that don't have any value at all. So therefore, the spouses should show love to one another throughout the year, and don't feel that you have to wait for a particular day because somebody told you to involve yourself on this particular celebration. It is unfortunate there are many places around the Islamic world that this is something which they're completely oblivious of, but rather they have shipped it in, and it has become a money-making scheme of selling, you know, balloons in the shapes of hearts and chocolates and things like that. And this is my Habib and Habiba, and this is my love, and so on and so forth. This is a very, very sad state of affairs. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to know that what is beloved and accepted to Allah Jalla wa Ala, and protect us from ignorance and those things which will take us away from the guidance of Allah Jalla wa Ala.
Ameen. MashaAllah, we have a question from another country today, mashallah, across the sea. Alhamdulillah, for a question from Abu Hashim from Finland. He's asking that if a person ascribes to the way, the methodology of the pious predecessors, the Salaf,
No.
His principles being following the Quran, the Sunnah, and with the understanding of the companions, does a person then need to take a step further and say, to call himself and label himself the term Salafi?
Right. Okay, so with regard, there's two parts to this question. The first part is adhering to a methodology. And it is important that when understanding and following the Quran and the Sunnah, that it is done principally, with principles. It is not just done with anyone's understanding. I understand the Quran how I think it should be understood. And similarly with the Sunnah. For this reason, our beloved Nabi alayhi salam, without going into a lecture now, did say that those early generations were the best generations. And the fact that they were closest to the time of the Prophet alayhi salam had an advantage over others. So if one wants to understand and practice Islam in the way that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to do, with the methodology and how they radiallahu anhum wa rahmahumullah understood it, then this is something that you should do. Okay, ignoring that would be a big problem. Now this is the first issue. So it is really very important for us to understand Islam through this kind of window, if you like, or this scope.
Yeah.
The second point is that, do I then need to label myself externally with everybody and say this is who I am? And this is not necessary for you, because these terms have lots of connotations and understandings. There are times when you say such terms that may push people away because of their understandings. At other times, it may bring people closer to you. So I would say it's not necessary. If you adhere to that, and you, when you adhere yourself to a particular methodology, that no doubt, inshallah ta'ala, you can have, as I say, yantasib ilay, you are a follower of the pious predecessors. They are from the Salaf, and therefore you're Salaf in that you follow that methodology, la haraj. But the term is kind of a loaded term in the modern day, in modern age. So be very careful in how it is used and in the context that it is used, because it is misunderstood. And at times people haven't a clue what it is about. They think it is just a theory, but rather it is a practice. It is an understanding and a practice that the person will live their Islam through. So not necessarily it is a must for you to tell everybody that this is what you are, but rather the more important thing is to teach Islam in the methodology that we should all adhere to. Wallahu alam.
Alhamdulillah, as in the actions are better than the speech of mere labels. Alhamdulillah, we do have another caller, anonymous caller, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Good evening.
Assalamu alaikum.
First of all, Jazakallah khair. I would like to ask a question from the Shaykh, please.
Yes, go ahead, sister.
I wanted to know, Salatul Hajjat, can it prayed at any time? And what's the best way to pray, please?
Inshallah. Okay. Salatul Tahajjud is the night prayer.
No. Salatul Hajjat, the need when you need something.
Salatul Qada.
Hajjat.
Salatul Haja.
Hajjat, when you need...
Haja. Okay, Haja. Okay.
Salatul Hajjat.
Yeah, okay, inshallah. Barakallah fiqh. May Allah bless your sister. So, when naming salawat or different prayers, Salatul Haja, Aisha radiallahu anha narrates that if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken back by any matter, or a matter bothered him, or there was something he wanted to do, فَزِعَ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, that he would go immediately to prayer. Now this isn't like Salatul Hajjah that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you all know, you will go and need to pray Salatul Hajjah. Okay, this is a name that was given. But essentially, if any one of us have a need, okay, then you could just pray 2 rak'ah. Offer 2 rak'ah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is if you've done something wrong, you want to seek istighfar, you pray 2 rak'ah as you wish. Or for example, there's something that you need, increase in sustenance, or to guide you, to guide your family, to help you in a matter, to aid you, to give you some patience or whatnot. You go to salah and you offer 2 rak'ah as you like, okay? This is simply what it is, inshallah ta'ala. It's not necessarily for us to make a new chapter in fiqh and say this is kitab or the book of Salatul Hajjah and the conditions and so on and so forth. Quite simply, sister, as Muslims, if we have a need, whatever that need may be, you can go to the salah, pray 2 rak'ah as you wish. You want to pray more than 2, it's up to you, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what you need. Wallahu alam.
Alhamdulillah, Shaykh. We have a really beneficial question come forth, and I'm taking from the question, it is something that may affect the majority of the Muslims in the United Kingdom. Basically, the question is from a sister. She's asking that, she's basically saying that her husband works long hours and he does not get the time to perform different types of ibadah, to recite the Quran, do adhkar. While meanwhile she's at home with the children performing these particular actions. She's asking, is it permissible to share the reward of these particular actions if she sets her intentions right for him to receive portion of these rewards as well?
Okay. So there are, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept any offering that you do for the sake of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Now there are certain deeds that when we offer them, I'm the only beneficiary of that. So if I read Quran, for example, that recitation and the reward of the Quran is for me.
Right.
If, for example, I offer salah, I offer prayer, that prayer is for me. I can't dedicate my prayer and give the reward to somebody else. However, if a person wants to perform umrah on behalf of a deceased, you can do that, or set up a sadaqatun jariyah, a continuous charity for somebody else in their name. You can also do that. So you have to distinguish the acts of ibadah that is permissible for us to dedicate to others. However, this doesn't mean that we can't help one another. There's a very beautiful hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man dalla ala khayrin," that the Prophet ﷺ, the meaning of the hadith is that whoever shows another person to do good, that they will have the reward of that. So if you encourage a person to make the adhkar, كأجر فاعله, that they will have the reward of that person. So if you encourage your husband to make adhkar and they do that, you will receive a reward for showing that person to do that good, inshallah ta'ala. So these are the kind of things we need to remember. Wallahu alam.
We'll probably take this final question before we finish, inshallah. We have a minute to do so, but the question is asking that her mother has paid for her a course to do, but the mother has paid for the course through means of this wealth has come through riba and interest. Can she still take the course, and does she still have to pay it back to her mother?
So if a person's wealth is mixed, if all of their wealth is purely haram money, okay, then you should avoid that. If, however, there's a mix, some of their money is come through halal ways, and other is come away through maybe not permitted, then here the situation can change, that the ruling change, because it's changing from one hand to the other. So then, that's permissible for you to do that. You can take the course, inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair, Allah yabarak feekum. Thank you so much, inshallah, dear viewers, for calling in. We are live as well on Ask Eman tomorrow, inshallah, with Shaykh Abdul Ghani. So please do call in, inshallah. Please spread this message of Islam, alhamdulillah, and benefit from the knowledge that you heard tonight, inshallah. We'll catch you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.